excited today to have someone who I extremely hold in high regard, someone who I call as the hardest working investor in the business, Deborah Hemingway, who is the founding and managing partner at Ecphora Capital. So Deb, welcome today.
Yeah, no, delighted to be here. And right back at you, Chris. You're amazing. I'm just in awe of what you're building with BioBuzz. I mean, gosh, talk about a powerhouse player in the region. So thank you so much.
Well, then this is going to be a fun conversation, isn't it?
Sure is. Hearts all around, everyone.
Great. Well, for those joining us, What's the Buzz is an opportunity for us to talk with ecosystem builders, right? So what are ecosystem builders? Ecosystem builders are the people and organizations that are helping to fuel the growth of our innovation ecosystem in the life sciences. So we talk to investors and ecosystem support organizations and anybody really kind of helping to fuel the growth of this industry. So I'm really excited for today, really talking about what we titled today's episode, The Investor's Edge. So I'm excited for this. Before we jump in, let me just give a shout out to our sponsor, CRB. So while we're talking about ecosystem building today, if you don't know CRB already, they're literally building our ecosystem. CRB is a design, engineering, construction firm that specializes in life sciences. So there's a good chance that if you're working in a lab in Maryland or almost any of the top clusters across the U.S., you're working in a lab or a manufacturing facility that CRB built. So a big thank you to CRB for supporting these episodes. And thank you for all you do to build the ecosystem infrastructure so that Deb can do what she does best and help get the companies up and running to fill those labs and manufacturing suites. Right. So thank you, CRB. So Deb, excited to have you here today. When we just as a starting off point, do you mind just giving everybody an introduction to who you are and tell us a little bit about Ecphora Capital?
Yeah, sure. So Deborah Hemingway, founder and managing partner at Ecphora Capital. Ecphora Capital is an early stage medtech venture capital firm right here in Baltimore. And we are founded in Maryland, and we fund and support Maryland-based medtech companies.
That's great. And if I'm not mistaken, you also branched out a little bit, and you have kind of a therapeutics in there too in the mix, right?
That's we did our first non-device investment late last year, and so we're branching out beyond just the pure medtech. But medtech is our heart, that's our focus. But we saw an amazing opportunity we couldn't pass up, and so we jumped in.
That's great. Well, good. Well, today, Deb, I want to talk to you about Ecphora. I love what you're doing, so I want you to really help share, with our audience, kind of everything you do with Ecphora. And I'd love to spend some time also talking about, the fundraising market today and what you're seeing specifically, especially in the medtech space. I'm at City Garage right now. I know that's where your offices are as well. We're in Medtech Central in Baltimore right here. So I'd love to hear what you're seeing in that space. So, and then maybe some startup success tips and pitfalls you have for investors kind of approaching for startups approaching VCs today.
Great. Yeah, of course. And I'm so glad we have the next 3 hours to cover all of that.
So we're going to cover some high levels, so don't worry. So tell us a little about Ecphora. What's your investment philosophy? You mentioned you invest in Maryland-based companies. I love that. There's been a big rise in kind of regional ecosystem-based investing. So tell us about that and how that really looks for you on a daily basis at Ecphora.
Yeah, sure. So I got involved specifically in medtech investing while I was working on my PhD. So I'm a PhD research scientist. My PhD is in biophysics. And so I was naturally drawn to investing in what I knew and what I loved, and that was medical devices. So it started 8 years ago now with my first angel investment. Well, in the private, I was doing public investing and real estate before this, but I'm in the private markets. I jumped in as an investor about 8 years ago with angel investing. I got started through the Diekman Center for Entrepreneurship. And there I met Coaptech. Coaptech is right there in City Garage, founded by CEO Howard Carolyn. When he came and pitched the Diekman Center, barely had a working prototype. Actually, I'm not even sure the prototype was working at that stage. But I believed in the team, and I knew that it could eventually work from a technical perspective. I understood the market that they were going after. They did have a patent, they did have some patent protection, and ultimately I saw that this could be a really significant exit opportunity. So I put money in and did some follow-on investing, and then we were really delighted last year to bring them in as an Ecphora Capital portfolio company. So moving from the angel side to the venture capital side has been really amazing to just follow this company's journey. And they have had a number of acquisition offers, which has been very exciting. We're waiting for the right one. They have a lot of upward movement that's right in front of them, so they need to, I think, grab a little more sales, and then ultimately they'll be able to accept an offer. And then we're pushing the team to move towards that exit in the next couple of years. So pressure's on, Howard. We're looking at you.
That's great. So I love that kind of origin story, right? Like, did that, that early success or your time at the Digman, did that kind of inspire your kind of Maryland focused approach? Or can you tell us like how that kind of baked into your philosophy when you started Ecphora? Like, where did that kind of regionalism come from?
Sure. So it came first because I have been seeing all this amazing innovation that we have here in Maryland. I mean, it's incredible. Like all the IP that's coming out of our major world-class medical research institutions. I don't have to name names, but I will, because we especially look at Hopkins and my alumni. I'm an alum of University of Maryland College Park. So again, those two. We also see IP out of NIH and NIST, and there's so many others in the local ecosystem that are generating IP. And so when you have that amount of new startups coming out, like it's amazing. It's really amazing to have all this innovation here. So first and foremost, like the companies are awesome. Like the companies are so compelling. And whenever you meet a company that has the potential to impact lives of so many worldwide and just completely change the way medicine is done, like it's phenomenal. And then now that my companies are moving along in their life cycle and they're on the market, meeting patients who have been personally touched by these devices that I played a small piece in funding and bringing to market. I mean, that's just exhilarating. Like that is like, I can't even tell you the feeling of pride and of enthusiasm that I get for being a part of bringing this life-changing device, to impact this person's life. It's incredible. So the first part of why Maryland is because why not? Like we have all the amazing pieces here. So we have, like I said, the innovation coming out. We have really smart people. Like we have great people who are jumping into entrepreneurship, a lot of them for the first time, and who are leading these teams. And they're smart, they're coachable, they're building phenomenal teams. We do have that space here. We have a lower cost of living than some other areas of the country, and therefore more affordable lab space. And we have lab space that's now online, on market, on ready for these startups to move in. Also, people are building out lab space as well. So look, we have the opportunity here. What I did notice is that there's not as much capital in this region. I know, Chris, this, maybe some people watching aren't as familiar with Maryland, but as a culture, like as a state, we're not that risk tolerant. The culture tends to be a little more conservative financially speaking, and a little more risk averse, and not as willing to take a risk. We just haven't had that, historical, especially recently, interest in supporting startups. Because to financially support a startup, you have to have two things. One is money, financial resources, and then two is a willingness to part with that money. So we are encouraging people with number one to also consider number two, putting that money to good work in the region. But what that means from an investor standpoint is because there's not as much competition for these startups, for other investors, then we have access to amazing opportunities here. Places like Boston or the West Coast don't have as much opportunity for early, young emerging fund managers as we do here, because here I have access to really just whatever companies I can and I can help as many companies as I possibly can, and so that level of access was phenomenal. So those kind of laid the groundwork for it. Also, the magic, like secret sauce, is in this tax credit program. And if you talk to me for more than 10 minutes, you've probably heard me ramble on about tax credits. I joke that this is my second PhD in this tax credit program that Maryland has. But the tax credit program is really what put me as an angel on the track to launching my firm and setting up Ecphora Capital and driving Ecphora Capital to reach the growth that we've reached today and to be able to put the capital to work that we've been able to put to work here in our state today is by leveraging this phenomenal tax credit program. So not to bore the listeners too much about taxes, but the bottom line is that the program is amazing. What it does is it gets a commitment from the companies to stay in Maryland. So I mentioned all the amazing IP that we have here in Maryland and all the startups that we have, coming out of the universities especially, and the medical research institutions, the government labs. But what has happened historically is that the companies have been drawn to more established hotbeds of medical innovation, specifically Boston and the West Coast. Yes, I'm naming them. All right. So we do see our companies being drawn to them because of the perceived, ease of growth there, whether or not that's true or not. Maybe you're moving to be a really tiny fish in a large pond, but we do see that draw to the more established players in the space, in this, domestic medical ecosystem. So what the state said was like, wow, we're missing out on all this incredible opportunity. We're missing out on all this economic growth, these jobs, this impact, this change in the world. These companies should be staying in Maryland. These are our companies. We want to keep them here. So the state legislators put together this program called the Biotechnology Investment Incentive Tax Credit Program, or the BIITC. And this program, like I said, gets the companies to stay here. And then in exchange for the company's commitment to stay here, it offsets the downside risk for the investors, meaning that the state actually issues a tax credit to the investors for making an investment in the company. So this means that the companies can have an easier time raising money and can also raise more money and on a tighter timeline than would otherwise be possible. So we're incentivizing our early stage companies to stay here, to grow here. For the program, it's a 3-year commitment, but we do hope that they will stay here indefinitely because Maryland's a wonderful place to be. And so they, get established here, then hopefully never leave. But, it is only a 3-year commitment. So after 3 years, if they've had enough, well, who could ever have enough in Maryland? But they could technically leave. So that's it. So the program, incentivized me to come in and take the plunge and get into venture. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, it's just been such an amazing journey. Like I said, and the companies that I've been meeting and helping along the way, it's phenomenal. So that's it.
Well, very, it's very compelling reasons. So, and I know a lot of companies that we've worked with, on the recruitment and hiring side too, that have been part of those tax credits. And the leg up it gives them in that early stage, and the leg up it gives for an investor to be able to fund some of these companies is I think a real competitive advantage. So just to recap, so a couple of things you said was there's great IP here, and so one of the things I want to do is I want to overcome some maybe misconceptions that other investors have had around Maryland, and I'd love to hear what how you would combat that. But great IP here, right? Do you see, are there any trends in the IP? Like, what does this region really do well? I mean, Medtech, it can be pretty broad, right? So do you see any trends on really what IP is coming out that's bold and game changing, or is it steady and good commercial, vision? Like, are there any trends, or is it really kind of too much?
Yeah, well, there's 2 particular ones I will speak to just briefly, because yesterday I was at the Maryland Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine Symposium where I got to judge some amazing companies. It's phenomenal pitches, and they're all right here in Maryland, and they've all been funded by the stem cell grant that we have here. And so I've been tracking a couple of those companies. 2 of them are already in our portfolio, and we'll see if any more will be joining our portfolio. So they are top of mind for me because I know that is, a specific initiative from the state. And so that is one. Also, I, could not mention Neurotech and what we have going on at Launchport. Bob Story is building something phenomenal right here in the Launchport. It's a medical device manufacturing accelerator for those who are not familiar with it. And the Launchport really helps bringing companies after they've already left like an early acceleration or incubation period, once they have a prototype and they want to go to market. So it's a manufacturing accelerator. So it takes them to that next level. So what is it like to, have a manufacturer ready product, to build your first 10 units, your first 100 units, your first 1,000 units? That process is, if you haven't been through it, it's not as straightforward as you would sometimes hope. So it's amazing having someone like Bob at the helm, leading these companies through that transition to be a commercial ready product. So there's a lot going on with the launch port right now, but especially with the opportunity before us for this Neurotech hub. So that is in the works. So stay tuned for that. So I'm watching both of those industries right now very closely, and hoping to put some more money behind some of these phenomenal companies.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm also looking at longevity right now, right? So when you think of Neurotech, Hopkins has some of, like, worldwide, some of the most preeminent doctors and clinicians, tackling, neuroscience. And, so I think that's a tremendous asset that it's right here. And for the ability to kind of develop we do a lot of work with Cranius also here in the area. And I think I just saw that didn't we just apply for an NSF grant? I think the region around Neurotech and quantum computing.
Right.
So that sounds like a really emerging. And so again, when you look at Neurotech too, there is a tremendous amount that AI and quantum computing can play in that space. So this is really, I like what you kind of brought up there. I mean, I can see 5 years from now that being really a tremendous, like, center of innovation.
And if you want to know, how small and how close-knit Maryland is, Bob Story, who I work very closely with right now, is obviously leading that grant, as is Wolfgang Lozert, who is my PhD advisor for my dissertation work. And Maryland is also in it. So I'm like, oh my goodness, my worlds are just really combining here. So yeah.
But isn't that how, like, ecosystems grow though? Like, there's, like, it happens generationally, right? So, it happens through the fact that now, your PhD advisor, who you have established trust with, can refer IP to an investor that he knows and he trusts. And you have a partner in Bob who can then help your companies commercialize when they get their, design lock done and they're ready to go. Like, that's kind of how it's supposed to happen, isn't it? Like, I don't know. To me, it sounds like that's just the things are lining up the way they're supposed to.
They absolutely are. And it's amazing seeing everyone come together and really to support these incredible companies, and you mentioned longevity. Longevity is absolutely crushing it. They're led by Jesse Christopher, CEO there. And they're just off to the races, and it's so phenomenal to watch them and to be a part of their growth. And they are just off to the races. And I want to see more companies like that, following longevity's footsteps. They are absolutely, I would say, like, the poster child of what it is like to be a Maryland medtech company. That's them. And, they're growing and they're paving a path, and they're really, like, planting a flag and making this ecosystem what it is. And so having us all come together to support, all these amazing companies and launch new ones, it's incredible to be a part of. Absolutely incredible to be a part of this movement.
You mentioned stem cells as well. So stem cell regenerative medicine is one of those that really crosses over medtech and therapeutics, right? That's one of those kind of crossover fields. So that is another area. So I again, just to make a plug for the Maryland Stem Cell Research Fund. I mean, you don't have to be a Maryland company as long as you're doing clinical research or doing research or agree to kind of do some of your work here in Maryland. But they're giving early grants to stem cell research, and we have a pedigree of that here. I mean, Rooster Bio is one of the the main players in the exome space and the stem cell space as a CDMO and tools company. They just announced a partnership with Thermo Fisher to scale what they're doing, even more. So the ecosystem around regenerative medicine and the ecosystem around neurotech are two things that, again, I'm glad we're talking about today, because those are things that I want investors that are listening to this to know about. Again, I don't want to take away your deal flow, but I want more startups and more investors coming to Maryland and going, I got to come and check out City Garage, because every time I hear Deb and Chris, there's amazing companies here. And again, I get to walk down the halls every day and see longevity and see Coaptech and see, like, it's amazing. And you're right, there's amazing companies here. So, crushing that objection that like Baltimore doesn't have a lot of really good companies, I think is not going to be hard if people listen to this podcast and even just kind of take a walk through a couple of hallways here in the Baltimore
That's right.
area.
Yeah. Or come visit City Garage. I mean, this place is hopping. It is so wonderful being there. And I love going by and spying on my portfolio companies. Oh, who's in the office right now? Oh, so I will quiz, the employees, because I don't work as closely with them as I do the CEO. Oh, but I go to the labs and I ask them what's really going on. So it's
That's awesome though. I mean, because you're also crafting that next generation of entrepreneur by doing that. I mean, that's a gift you're actually giving, whether you think about it that way or not. But part of our ecosystem's growth and our ecosystem edge is having an investor like you. I mean, here at City Garage, we actually have 3 investors baked into this ecosystem. You're probably the one I see the most and the most active here that I see amongst this medtech. But Blackbird Labs is here, and they're right here, and I think that's a benefit when your investors here and your employees kind of have to be on their game, because those employees are hopefully going to be the next founder of the next startup, right? And you're kind of sharpening their edge by doing
that's
that.
right. And that's also, why we have our seminars that you all sponsor, which we're so thankful for. But with the Ecphora seminar series, we're really looking at raising up that next generation of CEO talent and cultivating what we have here with our existing CEOs, supporting them as they go on through the most difficult aspects of running a startup. Because look, is there anything more challenging in the world, like in the professional world? Is there anything more challenging than being a CEO startup? Like there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in the world. It's exhilarating. It's wonderful. It's also exhausting and brutal. And, our CEOs are taking these incredible risks and putting literally everything on the line. Like a lot of them are just financially, not only put all their finances into it, but they're financially leveraged for their startups. They're professionally, they're putting their careers on the line, putting their name behind this startup. They're putting their families, they're putting everything behind it into it. And so, anything we can do to support and cultivate these phenomenal CEOs, we'll do it. And it's awesome to be part of and to see the CEOs grow and develop over years. They're giving years of their lives to these projects, to their companies. So it's wonderful.
Well, I think so. The seminar series is one that I know we sponsor with you, and we do quarterly, right? So it's quarterly, and I'll tell you, as a CEO and a startup CEO myself, like you're 100% right. Like I come not only as a sponsor, because like every time I'm like I look forward to them, because it gives me a little more energy. And like when I'm up at 3 a.m, like looking at the ceiling, going like, what am I doing trying to grow this, innovative new, platform technology for the industry? And I'm like, and then I come up to your event, I'm like, yes, like that's what I needed today. And so, again, thinking back through like this as the investor's edge, what I want to kind of say about the way I watch you run your business is, there's some investors who are like, here's my money, give me a board seat, and you better make it happen. And then there's, I don't know what you call it, active investment, where you're very supportive in not just your portfolio, but you're lobbying for things at the state. You are active in the market. You're walking in and talking to employees. You're hosting seminars to prepare. So again, when people hear me say like Deb is the busiest, most active investor in the region, like it's because it's not just the investment you're doing. Like this whole, platform that you're building is, I think, the edge. And I think when you see the success of Coaptech, you not only aren't picking the right, picking the right horse, as they say, but you're making sure that the machine has everything it needs to run. So again, I wanted to bring that all into a package, just so our listeners could really understand the breadth of everything we're talking about today, and really how it all comes together. Because it is like startup is a game of inches. It's like, I was joking earlier, I'm like, you know what, guys, like it's, 90% leadership, 50% hard work, another 75% luck, and, another 90% your relationships. And my team was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, but that's probably the reality.
Yeah, I think we crossed that 200% right there, which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
No, that's funny, but we do try to, get in there and support our startups, as much as we can. And, we do all the things too, like the board seats and the investments and everything. But, what else can we add? How else can we be there for our companies and our CEOs? And for many of them, we've known for decades, or we've known someone who's known them for years. So, it does have that kind of familial, like warm vibe that I know is not present at every firm, but that's how we are. That's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, but again, there's a familial vibe, but I know you
That's
mean
right. Oh, that
business,
is true.
and
No mistake about that.
like I know you mean business, and what I will say is you are probably one of the most knowledgeable people I know of this whole ecosystem and of the companies and inside and out. So again, I think the recipe that you have, I'm excited for it. I know that your firm is growing. I'm predicting. I mean, if that you and I talk about this. Like I'm predicting where you're going to be in 10 years. So, um, I think you definitely have found an edge that you're building around. What can you tell us about Ecphora, where you see things going based on this? Are do you have your first fund is deployed, right? Are you doing any additional fundraising, or are you growing? Like, tell us a little bit more about what Ecphora has going on
That's
right
right.
now.
So we've deployed $16 million in the past 2 years, and we're really proud of that and so excited to have been able to support companies at that level. We're working on a raise right now. So we're doing a $30 million raise. We want to do the next 30 over the next 3 years. So we're working on that now, just deploying more capital, putting it to work, and really supporting the phenomenal companies that we have here. And like you were saying earlier, it's not just about the capital too. It's like supporting them and championing them. Is championing? Did I make that word up just now? Okay. Wait, is this live? Can we like edit that out? Okay. Championing our startups, but really just supporting them as much as we can and helping them grow and turning this whole ecosystem into what it should be, which is the hotbed, the epicenter, the origin of medical commercialization. Like, look, Baltimore should be the heart of medical device manufacturing, especially medical device manufacturing. Look, we have all the pieces here. Like at Baltimore, we're perfectly poised, to have this with all of our innovation here. And we have access to the waterways and the airport and the train and transportation. It's all here. We have the space and the companies and the desire to build it here. So I say, look, let's claim what's ours. And that is the title of Epicenter, world's epicenter of medical commercialization.
I like it. Let's do it. I mean, again, I don't say let's do it.
Yeah.
You are doing it. We are doing it. And it's happening. I mean, I think and not to be just a cheerleader, but success is, and ultimately it's about the success. And we started off talking about the co-op tech, and kind of where they are in position right now. Medical device, life science investment. Again, it's not like tech where you're in and out in 18 months, right? But it's a much bigger upside, right? And there's a lot of impact, and you're literally changing people's lives. I like to say we're not inventing the next app or like Candy Crush app. You're literally changing people's lives and saving people's lives, and that takes a little bit of time. But when you can come in here and see the infrastructure that's been built, your investment, you can see that it is de-risking. There is de-risk when you can work with someone like Deb, who knows this ecosystem well and is going to deploy it in the right places. When the commercial, the manufacturing system is set up with Bob Story and Ecphora, and we have access to any clinician you need in any discipline in less than a quarter mile away from where we're launching. So again, I think just my plug for, again, why invest in Maryland right now and why invest in Deb and why I believe in Medtech is just that. I mean, I think the ingredients are here. I think you said it too, but the ingredients are here, and all we're missing is the right capital and the right people to continue to get involved and get on the Deb train, which is speeding down the track right now.
It's so funny. All right. Thank you, Chris. This has been so fun. Look what I said, hearts all around, right? Hearts all around. We're growing. We're making it happen here.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of doom and gloom around, right? Like, things are happening at the federal government level and this and that. Like, you know me, I'm like a very optimistic guy, but when I get to talk to people that are really doing the hard work, like you are, and I want to make sure people know that as much as you see headlines out there, there is some real opportunity, and that opportunity is built on real science, real engineering, and real people that are making it happen. So that's all. I like to keep these things, you know, talking about facts and not just all rah rah. But again, sometimes I can't help it when the equation works. So
No, that's funny. Look, there's always risk in the world. Like there will always be cycles. But like, look, what is the foundation? Like, what are the fundamentals? And we have those here. So it's time to just capitalize on them, no matter what the cycles are.
amen, amen to that. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. Just a couple closing remarks. If you're really interested in how AI is impacting this industry, BioBuzz is hosting one of our Insights to Impact events tomorrow night in Frederick, AI across the life science value chain. So these events are for industry professionals. We really curate this to kind of reduce any vendor and service provider participation to create a very cultured environment for peers in this industry to get together and learn and engage. So DM me if you'd like to have access to that. We also have a couple other events coming up this June, one in Frederick, one here in Baltimore, which I'm excited about. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about the future of medtech and life science, not just in Maryland, not just in Baltimore, but globally. So I'm excited to announce that soon. So a lot of exciting things coming up that we're doing to support this ecosystem, to support the talent, both techs as well as execs that are making this ecosystem what it is. So again, for today, Deb, thank you so much. Appreciate all you do, and thank you for sharing it today.
It's wonderful being here. Thank you. I knew it would be.
All right, for now, signing off. Thank you all.